Hi, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. Elliot Shore Parks, James Seltzer with you. The Bet Parks Picks Pod, talking Eagles training camp, and we'll get some gambling stuff
the
as well.
ultimate pod.
But it's the beautiful time of year. I feel like, Elliot, yesterday, it was almost like a fever dream pod for me with how tired I was from the concerts. Like,
yes, well,
I know
actually
we
ran
talked.
into somebody. I ran into someone that saw you at the Fish concert.
Get out of here.
A
That's
real
awesome.
one. Yeah, his name was Julian. I
Julian,
actually knew him.
that's the one I said on the pod yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I couldn't remember if you did. Yeah, actually
I said Julian and Eric were the two real ones I mentioned on the pod yesterday. Yep. My fever dream pod, but I know I mentioned as I met, and they were like real ones, and came up to me. It was like super cool. So that we always say it's we meet a real one up. We're just I appreciate you more than everyone else. It's just
it is nice. I had a few people come up to me at training camp. They're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Like, I'm a real one." It's like, okay, like I know right off the bat.
Yeah,
like, okay. I completely understand the vibe we're on.
It's
right
meaningful.
Now.
Like if you want, like, let's put it this way: there are very few things that a human can walk up and say to me that will make me happier than someone coming up to me and saying I'm a real one. In all seriousness.
Know what? When the other one, someone come up to me and say that would make me happier. Nolan Smith is practicing today.
Oh, look at you. What
Nolan
a crush.
Smith is practicing
what a
today.
crush. All right, let's just dive in. Day 2 of training camp. Elliot's happy place. We'll get into the whole reaction from everything there today. A lot to get into. And again, just yesterday, I know we did a pod. I know we talked about stuff.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I said. It was like a fever dream pod, but
Will it all be new to you today? What did they say about repeats? It's new to you. If you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
I do remember, but definitely feeling more with it today. So I hope I apologize is what I'm trying to say. All right, let's get into it.
You were still great.
So is Nolan Smith are we really going day 1, day 2, first lead story from our guy, the beat writer we need is Nolan Smith twice in a row?
We could. If you want, I can save it. I mean, he's not the lead today. He's not the lead today.
Good. Let's do the lead because I think I know what it is, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
So let me actually, I don't have to take people behind the scenes because you can go to my Twitter page or my Thread page or my Instagram page.
Elliot never one to shout out his pages,
never.
As you don't see at Elliot Shore Parks if you're watching.
Yeah, down there, right there. Yeah, I actually have that because they make me do it for other pods, but it's
so funny. I never think to do it, and I always just leave it as that. And then whenever I'm with you or Jack, everyone always has it, and I'm always like,
I wonder if you can still edit it. But regardless, all right. So today we're at practice. So every day of practice, they do a ball security drill. And the ball security drill is basically all the ball carriers. I think defensive backs do it too. Anybody that, like, in theory could be holding a ball during the game is in the drill. Quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, receivers, defensive backs. I think linebackers are in there too. Everyone that could hold the ball. They do it every day. And basically what the drill is, you hold the ball and they have like sticks that have boxing gloves at the end. And as you run, they like kind of poke at it with that and they like hit it and stuff. And then you dive. So the whole drill is to make sure you are holding the ball securely. They do it every day. I've seen them do it, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 times since Siriani got here. Today was the first time I saw him stop the drill because of it. So it's about 15 minutes into practice, maybe even earlier. They're doing the drill. Siriani stops them and like rips into them. He's like, this is a ball security drill. There should be no ball security issues right now. The entire focus of the drill is ball security. You're not playing in a game. This isn't a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. The only thing you have to focus on in ball security, and I'm still not seeing good ball security. He used some expletives. He didn't say earmuff, so he must not have listened to recent pods. But regardless, I'll forgive him. Kali Wally in the chat. I met him today. Nice to meet you. But
shout out
so
Kali
anyway,
Wally.
He's so in the drill, he's yelling at him. And I really think so. When I took the video of it, I'll take you guys a little inside baseball.
Ooh.
I took the video of it and I thought, like, should I tweet this out? Like, he's cursing. It shows a little bit of like maybe behind the scenes they don't want out there, which is my job to respect that a little bit. But like, I did it and I'm happy I did because here's why. Like, people should see that while these practices are an hour long, Siriani runs a tough practice that is very competitive, and he really rips into these guys. Like, he did it day 1, too. There was a drill at the end of day 1 where there were 3 consecutive penalties. It was second team versus, I believe, second team, offense, defense. They were about 2 yards out, and there was penalties on 3 straight plays. One was on the offense. I think one was on the defense, and then the other one was on the offense. They went back to back. One was on Tyler Steen. One was on Jalen Carter. And he walks up to him, not those 2 Pacific players, but the whole 22 players, and is like, this is what is going to lose us games to bad teams. Like, penalties and sloppy play is what is going to lose us games to bad teams. So between today, I think it's very clear Sirianni early on has come into camp with a like specific emphasis, a decided demeanor of, I am going to really rip on them when I feel like they're being sloppy or they're being not taking the drill seriously. And I think that's good, because we spent a lot of the offseason talking about when this team goes into the season, they're going to be favorites in most games. They're going to be expected to win big. And that can lead into complacency. That can make it so you don't take the Tuesday practice before the Washington game seriously, or you don't go into week 1 against New England, worried that you could lose the game. So through 2 practices, between how he yells at players, between the things you hear him saying, it is very, very clear Sirianni is 100% coming into this with like, we will not accept anything other than full effort and full concentration at practice.
I love this. This is as good a thing as I could have heard in the first 2 days of practice. And it's funny because it's, he's yelling because they're not, their issues. And you're like, I put it aside. They'll figure it out. The fact that he is coming into this season, especially, we've talked so much about Super Bowl hangovers, losing in the Super Bowl and how hard it is to get back and all that stuff. Like, I think this is the type of stuff that can lead to that. Coming back and being like, we're awesome. We almost won the Super Bowl. We're going back. We're the best team in the conference. Like, all that type of stuff is the type of stuff that can lead to your point, to complacency, to not taking teams seriously enough, to not taking practices seriously enough and all that. And for Sirianni to come in with this mentality of like, hell bleeping no, like, we are going to focus. And it's also what he always preaches. It's consistent. It's fundamentals. It's accountability. It's all these things we talked about yesterday and have talked about why I think he is such a great coach, why you think he's such a great coach, why we think he's underrated nationally and even somewhat locally in terms of what I think this guy is as a coach and what he can be. And this is the stuff. This is all part of the culture. Like, it's not like, how much I love the connectivity and the love and how much I've come around like completely to being like, that is everything. And I know I say it all the time, but because like, I think his analogy of saying like, you're not going to fight harder for someone than someone you love. And if you love the guy next, you're going to fight harder for them. Like, I jive with all that stuff, but that stuff only works when it's paired with this stuff too. When he can be lovey guy and care about them and stuff, but they have to know that he is not someone they can push around on the field, that he's someone they have to listen to, that if he says, do this, you do this. If he practices something this way, you do it that way. And like that's important too. Like, discipline is important in football. Accountability is important in football. All these things, especially with the veterans and the amount of high-end talent and names and people that are on this team. Like, it's important for Sirianni to make sure all these people know who's steering the ship and that he's in charge. And I just really, really appreciate it. Also, really quick before I forget it, I absolutely think you should tweet that out. They let the reporters at practice for a certain amount of time. Nick knows reporters are there. He knows that if he does that,
that's the thing.
It is what it is. I think you absolutely did the right thing.
Yeah. And it was when the cameras were on. So we were allowed, and I do wonder, and I'm not saying he's doing this for the media or for the fans, but I do think I think Nick wants people to see that this idea that they're just going to be a great team should not be taken for granted. So,
and also the players to know that the public knows that they need to work harder, that he's going to be on, you know what I mean? I think it's a whole thing. I think he's great at thinking about all these things and how they could influence things.
Yes. So one thing I think about a lot with Nick sometimes, and I'm sure fans do too, and we've talked about it, is, is he someone that can outlast Doug? Doug won a Super Bowl, but we all saw after 2017, the team got sloppy. And for as much as it was probably as simple as Carson was terrible, they were just a sloppy team. They looked ill-prepared. There was the whole thing about Doug only hiring his people. One thing I truly believe, and we'll see if they win a Super Bowl, how it changes Sirianni. But one core belief I have about Sirianni is this dude just loves coaching football. and it shows in practice. And I've said this before, he loves to like be in there and like talk about the specifics of a rep of why a 5th string receiver should have gone this way when he went this way, or taking one extra step. And that shows in today where it's the 2nd day of camp. So, there's still an excitement level, and today's not a day where sloppiness should be tolerated anyway. But they were in a Super Bowl. Like
they also just got back. Like, they're just like getting into it. Some people might not be fully, whatever,
Yes. So
you can make excuses is the point, or explanations for it.
But he doesn't. Like, I truly believe, and Jalen Carter after practice actually talked about this. He said, actually, this goes against the Sirianni thing. But regardless, Jalen was saying, because Sirianni has said it to players, like, when they practice, they're supposed to practice really hard. Like, if they're not going to practice 4 days in a row or 2 days in a row with an off day or an hour and 40 minutes or 2.5 hours, when you practice, you're supposed to practice really hard. Jalen Carter did say the practices at Georgia were harder, which was kind of funny.
Well, it's college, and it's a different thing. Like, they can make these kids do whatever they want. These guys are millionaires. But regardless, it's about finding a balance. And I think Nick does a good job. He says, all right, we'll practice less, but you're going to practice hard when I have you. And saying like an hour or an hour and a half of like intense practice where you're all locked in and all working hard and paying attention is more valuable than 3 hours of stuff where you're not, or whatever. The other thing too, that, talking about Sirianni and this mentality that he has coming back after the Super Bowl, and to your point about Doug already winning a Super Bowl and it kind of going downhill after and all that, I do think that Nick, and it's part of why with Jalen, like even if they had won the Super Bowl, let's say they, one of 8 different things happened in that game that would have given them the extra points they needed to win, or whatever, points off or whatever. Like, I do think that these two guys, and it's, part of what we always talk about with them at the top, but Sirianni, we're talking specifically about him, but I think Jalen has this too. And I think it's what made Tom Brady great, and people like that, and Belichick, and like the best of the best, like when we've seen it with Sirianni, like he's so competitive and wants to win so bad that like, I don't think if they had won the Super Bowl, I don't think that would drain their competitiveness. Like, I think Nick Sirianni wants to win all the Super Bowls. I think he wants to go down as the greatest coach in the history of the sport. I think that he is like that type of competitive. And I think Jalen is too. And I think that's so important, because those guys, even with success, are not going to stop pushing.
I 100% agree with that. And I think, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Like, you two would love each other for as much as like Kelsey and you two get along. Like, the way we need to get you two in a room.
I would love to, man, because I am right there with you. And again, like we are 3 months apart. He just turned 42 in June. I'm turning 42 in September.
Wow.
Like, it's like, yes, I know. Like, we both, we're similar spots in our lives in terms of family and this and that and all that. Like, obviously he's head coach of the Eagles. I'm not.
Well, look, he's a head coach of the Eagles. You're the top podcaster about the Eagles. There's a similarity there.
Same thing. But I do think, like, vibe wise and life wise, like, I just think we'd have a lot in common.
Well, it would also be like, it would be amazing to watch, but also the room would probably like self-combust.
Oh my God. The amount of like energy between
excitement. So quick news I just got, not breaking news or anything, but I think fans will be interested in this. The Eagles just sent it out. They sent the Kelly green jerseys will be on sale Monday at 9 a.m. Says, and I believe
everyone's been waiting for.
Yes,
no,
in
it's
store
awesome.
Monday at 9 a.m.
Yeah, so. I saw. I don't remember where, but I mean, I like just the idea that we're getting the Kelly green back. We've got the powder blues in this city. I mean, I think I need the franchise to be more relevant, but I've always thought the orange and black is like a top tier sports uniform. Like, I think the Flyers colors are awesome. Like, we have some great jersey potential in this city, some great, upside. So that is fun.
I have a Kelly green thought, but we should probably stick to practice.
Yeah, we'll get to it at the end. Yes. And we're going to get some gambling stuff too. All right. Before we get to, Nolan Smith and whoever else is on the Eagles, because he's the most important.
Does it matter?
Obviously. Yeah, exactly. Sticking with like a offshoot of Sirianni, because you made the Doug point, gets my brain going about, Doug's, I think, biggest failure here, we would all agree, among maybe not being quite as motivated after and whatever, was his inability to either pick a staff or, stick with the staff or let them or whatever, all this stuff is staff. And obviously that's, I think going into this year, even us who are elite, think Sirianni's elite and all that, like, he has 2 new coordinators. That is something you don't see very often, and certainly a hardship for him and the coaching staff that they will have to work to figure out. And Desai talked for the first time at training camp today. Thoughts on his presentation, what you heard from Desai, and then we'll get to the rest of the stuff on the field.
So first of all, let me say, as somebody that is me and you both, that are a very average 5'9", Sean Desai is like also most coaches are like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, like see, that's what you said with Siriani. He's like 6'1", 6'2". It's like
he's a fellow average king.
Yes,
it's good to see a nice,
and
regular
he's a Temple guy.
Yeah, he's a Temple guy, exactly. So
we need to get Nick, Sean, all of us hang him.
Yes, yeah, I'll hang with Sean. You'll hang with Nick, and it'll be a good time. But so he did talk today, like you said. He's impressive at the podium. He had this really good quote. I wish I could have heard what the question was. I was probably tweeting and not doing a good job. But it was something about, he said, like, when the teacher and the student are against each other, nobody wins. And
it's a great line.
I never heard it. It's a very good line. Like, so he was impressive. I mean, he said, all the right things about N'Kobe and Jordan Davis. So he did say one thing, that this will be a thinking out loud exercise. So I'm not like trying to create drama. I'm just curious for your opinion on it. Tell me if you think I'm making too much of it. He was asked a question about how Jonathan Gannon last year really prioritized not giving up big plays. And that's a philosophical belief of the franchise and Nick Sirianni. Like, you don't give up big plays on defense, you create big plays. So he was asked about it, and he was giving an answer and saying, of course, that's something we don't want to do, give up big plays. My question, so he said this thing that I thought was interesting. He was like, and right now we're working on, doing that with like fitting it in, kind of. And I don't know, like my ears perked up. It almost sounded like he was kind of saying, we're working on getting the defense to what I want while also not giving up big plays. And so I don't know. It could be nothing, but
again, without hearing it, and I'd have to hear it and stuff, but just based off what you said, I think it sounds like the kind of thing that someone who has his own defensive philosophy is trying to meld with what Nick Sirianni wants. And I think they'll find a happy place. And again, it comes from similar core beliefs, I'm sure. But look, I think that's also maybe decide too, like, they've whether they've told him to, or he has, or whatever, going out. And like you said, I hope he doesn't, but going out with we're going to be physical, you're going to feel us and all that. If he,
I wonder how much of that is real.
But also at least words wise, like, and he might be not want to backtrack from that too, as something where he's like kind of answering questions in a, either or kind of way, where it's like, that, but also, we're still going to do what I said we're going to do, kind of thing. Who knows? Yeah. I'd have to really hear it, but interesting.
Yeah. Thought. So I don't know. It could be nothing, but to me, it was my first thought of like, maybe he really is going to be, because he talks about it a lot, like being, real physical and blah, blah, blah. And my opinion of that has always been he's just saying this, but
he's just saying that. But I do think that, look, I think there can be a happy medium where like you can protect against big plays a lot, but also utilize the playmakers you have. I mean, they have some real athletic weapons on defense now. And I do think there are creative things that you can do and be physical and be aggressive with that stuff. So I think it's going to be interesting. He's clearly a bright guy. So, all right. I'm going to make you wait on Nolan Smith one more time because
you're killing me.
I mean, 18 minutes in and, we did it again yesterday. We're talking about Jalen Hurts first today. All right. Okay. Tell me about Jalen and then we'll get to your board.
So he was 11 of 14 today. First play of practice was probably his best throw of camp so far. It was probably 25, 30 yards to AJ Brown, kind of across the field a little bit, but it was along the left sideline. Really good coverage. Jalen just put it where only AJ could catch it, and AJ caught it. It was right over his shoulder as he was running towards the sideline. Really good start to practice. After that, After that, there was a few running plays. They ran the ball a lot in 11 on 11 today. There was probably more running plays today than there were yesterday. He did have one poor throw. There was, it was 11 on 11. He was just kind of sitting back in the pocket. Devontae Smith down the left sideline had a step on Josh Jobs. It was first team offense for second team defense. And it should have been a touchdown. Jalen underthrew it. Devontae kind of had to come back. Josh Job was able to recover because the ball was underthrown. Probably should have been intercepted. Just wasn't a good throw, like kind of all there is to it. It is funny watching the reaction. Like when I tweet out positive plays, everybody's like, here we go, Super Bowl, like, let's go, 800 likes. And then when I tweet out negative plays, it's like, who cares? It's practice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, 11 of 14, those were the two noteworthy throws. He did have one nice throw to Quez Watkins that I felt was in bounds and was a catch. The ref called it out of bounds, but good throw. Quez did a nice job, I thought, dragging his toes. Maybe in a game it would have been incomplete. But outside of that, it was just a bunch of checkdowns. They did have one noteworthy play. The last 11 on 11 play of the day, Nick brought them all the way up to like the 1 or 2 yard line, like out the end zone. So they weren't backed up. They were going in. And I think the offense jumped off sides and Nick just killed the drill. Like he just took him off the field. So probably should have brought that up earlier during the accountability part. But that play was noteworthy. So Jalen overall, I gave him a B+. I think the throws were mostly good. The one Devontae throw wasn't great. But I'll say this too. Through 2 practices, I don't think Jalen's put the ball in harm's way a single time. And he's at almost 25 passes. So he's being smart with the ball for sure.
I feel like Jalen's just a B practice player, like we always talk about. Like he's just like, that's what he does. He comes out, he gets a B, he's fine.
Right.
On average, if you average all, he's like a B. And then he's, the second best quarterback in the NFL when it matters. And I will say that I of all the things, just the team, the everything, like it's not even a question. The single one thing I'm most excited for this season to start is to watch Jalen Hurts play football.
I know.
And like I cannot. I told you it's my biggest. I can't believe it. But
here's
the
one
one silver lining from rewatching the Super Bowl was it made me that much more excited about what I was already so excited about with Jalen.
So this is tying back into Kelly Green, but I think it also ties into the Nolan Smith, Jalen Hurts thing. Is the obvious Kelly Green jersey a Jalen Hurts jersey?
Yes, it's a 1.
You think so?
It's a Hurts. Yeah. I think okay. Again, I think that a lot of people get more than it, and then they just get, and a lot of people don't want to do Hurts. I do think where you're going, Nolan Smith is a, especially for someone like you, if you're an ESP guy out there who's like just totally in, and you think that Nolan Smith is going to be a star. I think that's a great one because he seems like such a wonderful guy, and he could be here a long time. I just think look, where I'm at with Jalen is I think that, and again, there's so many things that can happen, injuries and this and that, but I think that if it plays out the way I expect it to, he's going to go down as the greatest quarterback in the history of the franchise ultimately. And like that, and the Kelly Green, when they first come back with the young Jalen Hurts, we had it just could be such a cool jersey to have down the road.
And I think he's
also
the one
being the correct answer,
he'll be here for a really long time.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's kind of 2 options in my opinion. Like Devontae's cool, but I don't think 6 is a great
you can
number.
always go classic and get Kelsey Graham. Whatever,
so I think
will
it's
never
Kelsey.
age. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Like those will never age. You get a Kelsey or a Graham, it will never age. It will always be great. It'll always be perfect.
Yep.
Like you can't go. I agree. Kelsey and Graham are they're the top 2 no matter what, just because they'll never go out of style.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. All right. Nolan Smith in a second.
Quickly.
Download the Bet Park Sportsbook Casino. I mean,
yes.
Come on, guys. Seriously, what are we doing here? In all honesty, I've been having, I know I keep telling you about this, but so much good times betting in-game baseball.
I know
action,
you are like the Mr.
Telling you,
I feel like
there's it's real opportunities to win. I'm not used to winning, Elliot. This is fun.
So this is the funny thing. So we always pride ourselves on doing these reads live. We don't record them. We tell our real stories. And so this is how I know you genuinely love it. Like you didn't feel this a month ago and it just gets repetitive. Like we can talk about anything right now. Betting the Women's World Cup, betting futures we're going to get into.
Which I'll get to, but
and literally all you think about when it thinks of baseball right now is live in-game betting with baseball.
Every night. I'm following games. I'm watching them on the package. I'm like, ooh, they went down 2-0. They're definitely winning this game. Let's go. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's so great. So it's so much fun. But to Elliot's point, there's so many great things to bet right now. Women's World Cup. How's the Women's World Cup going, Elliot? It's been
so USA tied
thumbs
Netherlands.
Up.
Yeah. Well, look, I think they're probably still going to win their group.
Bracket.
I mean, you would have liked to see them beat Netherlands. They fell behind early, but you can still bet USA. They actually play Portugal next. I think I have the odds here if you want to give me a second because I was looking.
Yeah, you pull that up. And
they're going to be heavy favorites, which, as you know, we don't enjoy betting. But
we do not. Individual player props. There's so many things you can bet on, like home runs, hits. That is another fun thing I've been having with baseball is, if you're going to sit down and watch a game like our squad here, and you want to have a little extra action going on, put who's going to get a hit or two, or who's going to get some RBI, who's going to hit a home run. It's just a more fun way to watch the game. It gives you a little action, and sometimes you win a lot of money. It's a blast. Plus the pro football future. I said pro, not pro football. Pro Football Future. Yes.
Man,
yes.
I had a all-time misspeak on the air a few days ago. I don't even know if I can say it on the pod. Maybe at the end of the pod, I'll say it.
At the end of the okay, so
actually, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Okay, here, I'll make you a deal. You don't have to say exactly what you said, but if you give the context of it, I'll give the context of my worst one ever.
Okay. All right, deal.
Because it's a good one.
It's a major earmuff moment.
People will laugh. So anyway, download the app. There's so much fun stuff to bet on. The football futures, Pro Football Futures, not Plo. We will be talking about that a little bit later at the end of the pod to give you some other gambling tips on that. And here's the deal. The app is fun. It's easy to use. It's intuitive. And all new users, if you bet $10, you get $125 in sportsbook bonus. If your first bet is a winner, it's a great deal. BetParks.com has the terms and conditions. New users and winning bets only. Sports bonus bet must be wagered once. See website for details. You must be 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Ohio. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Elliot. Nolan Smith. Go ahead, buddy.
I mean, look, so here's how you know that I'm fully in on Nolan Smith. Last year, remember when they signed Hassan Reddick and we did the whole thing about I didn't like that he was considered a weapon. I just wanted him to rush the passer. I never wanted to see him in coverage every snap. Today, they dropped Nolan Smith into coverage a few times.
And you were into it?
Dude, he could probably be a coverage linebacker if they wanted him to. Like, he was able to stick with Goddard. He did a good job sticking with Boston Scott, two people that are not easy to cover, especially like Goddard, and then Boston Scott of maybe all the running backs is probably the toughest one to cover. Look, I don't want him doing it 15 snaps a game, and I'm, obviously like being a little overly excited about this, but it was, in all seriousness, interesting to see how fluid he was in space. Like, and he obviously,
he's super athletic. He's super athletic. Go back to the spider chart. He was like 98th or 99th percentile in all of them. Like, he's like a freak.
And think about this. Like, obviously, he couldn't cover Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's the toughest tight end to cover in the league, arguably. Like, I'm not saying he could do that. But in his body type is much more the body type you want covering a linebacker in today's a tight end in today's NFL than Nakobe Dean, Nicholas Morrow, Sean Bradley, Christian Ellis. Like, those are not guys that are built physically to cover Travis Kelce. So I'm just saying if they had Nolan Smith in the Super Bowl, they probably would have won.
I think definitely. It's funny. I Googled. So anyone is why you watch the YouTube when we do it.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah. So the funny thing is I just Googled Nolan Smith spider chart, and not only do you get the spider chart, but guess who it's from? The first one, our guy, Elliot Short. But like, look at that. Look at that spider chart.
Yeah,
like, obviously undersized in all those ways, but like, look at that. Look at that. Like, he is like 95, 96, 99. Like, he is an athletic freak. So,
yeah. And you saw it today. Yeah. And the other thing I'll say is, and then we can talk about other people if we have to, but
are you sure? Can you?
Nolan Smith better be good. It's going to be a long season.
Oh, this is but you know what? I appreciate you putting yourself out there, buddy.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about Nakobe Dean, even though as much Nakobe Dean as I've given, you have definitely outflanked me with your Nolan Smith love. Yes. You've gone very hard.
There was a play where they snapped the ball, and I swear he got into the backfield so quick they had to kill the play. Like, maybe it was a false start, maybe something, but I'm telling you, I saw him get off the edge, and the play was ruled dead. His jump off the line is insane. So anyway, he had another strong day, and for what it's worth, you should only listen to the Go Birds pod. You should only be listening to the morning show. Like, but other beat writers are also saying Nolan Smith is really good. Yeah.
Remember yesterday when I was like, I literally have seen nothing. So I was at the show and I woke up and probably you like today, like I was on Twitter a bit here and there. And like, it does, like, I was like, oh, other people are doing it. Like I said, a lot, Nolan Smith, wows, Nolan Smith's teammates blown away, like all this stuff. So I definitely not a lone voice in the wilderness with this. All right. Who else? Like what else? So, again, yesterday, kind of just give us some headlines. Obviously, I'm sure there wasn't too many takeaways from day 2 of practice, but give us some of the stuff that stood out to you.
So Jeremy in the chat has a question. So I'll do that because it's where I wanted to go anyway. But it was, how are the wide receivers doing besides AJ and Devontae? Shout out to Jeremy. He's always in the chat. Very much appreciated.
Shout out to Jeremy.
So Britton Covey actually had a really nice catch today. Hey. It was from Ian Book. And here's the thing about Britton Covey. There's part of me that just refuses to believe he'll ever be like an NFL receiver. He's like my size. It would literally be like, I mean, maybe he'll catch one touchdown since we all know I can do that. But outside of that, I can't picture him doing it, snap in like week in, week out. But in OTAs, I thought he looked good, but I just kind of brushed it aside because I was like, there's like that has to just be like an OTA thing. He had a nice catch today. It was third team for what it's worth, but it was over the middle, tight coverage. The corner was right there. He made a really nice catch. And here's like the thing. Covey is going to be on the team more than likely.
Well, this is what I was about to say. I was just about to jump in and say, like, who's returning punts?
Right.
Like, they didn't get anyone else. Like, we talked about, Zeke, could he do it? He's never done it. He's returned like 2 punts or whatever. Like, no one.
Yep.
Like, there's one. And here's the other thing I'll say. We were talking about takeaways from the Super Bowl, and I know it was only one, but watching that really good punt return Britton Covey had in the Super Bowl,
he did
reminded me how much better he got as the season went along. Like,
I agree.
He was bad at first and tentative, and as the season went along, he got better and better. He didn't break any, but like I was okay with him returning punts by the end of the year, and who knows, there's a potential upside there. I mean, again, it's someone who's returned punts like his whole life. So like I totally agree with you. I think there's a really good chance Britton Covey's going to be on this roster, whether he can catch balls or not.
Yeah, but the other part of that is he'll be active. So he will be on the roster and active. So if he can even just be someone, emergency situation, AJ's down, Devontae's down, Olamide, Azekakis, and Quez Watkins are on the outside, and you just have to have someone to go in there. Like, it's encouraging to see him make some nice plays. So Britton Covey,
we don't want Devontae back there unless it's like, end of a game, try and win a game, punt, you need it or something.
Another thing, actually, while we're on this train today of comparing you to people, he is elite at remembering names. Like, he walks around. Who is
Britton Covey?
Yeah. Yep.
Really?
He walks around, and it's like, me and Britton have talked definitely more than a few times. Like, we're not, I would say, close by any stretch, but we've talked. But it's always like, oh, hey, Elliot. Like, hey, Jimmy. Hey, Zach. Nice. Like, he is very good with names. So he had the nice catch today. Greg Ward had a better catch, but I just thought of Britton first for some reason. Probably because he always remembers my name. But so Greg Ward caught.
Because let's be honest. I mean, I really like Greg Ward. But he's Greg Ward. I mean, he'll never be more than maybe make it, maybe won't guy.
But here's where I'm going with this. He had like a 40-yard touchdown catch today. It was against the second team defense, so it was not against Slay or Bradbury. But what's interesting about Greg Ward is when he's played, he's been pretty good. Like, he is more than, he is not a starting top 3 receiver. But I don't know, as your fourth guy, he's made big catches. He plays from the slot. Like, he's a good special teams guy. I don't know. Maybe we're undervaluing Greg Ward just a little bit.
It's possible.
So Greg Ward had a really nice catch today. Quez Watkins, already talked about the catch, but my further analysis of that would be he is definitely, I think, entrenched as a number 3 receiver. Maybe they decide to trade him because they get a good offer and then they put OZ up in there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Quez is going to be the guy. Joseph Ngata, the undrafted receiver out of Clemson, had a really nice catch today. I'm a little unhappy with the fact that they gave him number 86. That feels messed up. Like,
yeah, we've talked about this.
Right. So that aside, if someone's going to have to wear it, though, at least it's a tall receiver everybody can believe in. So
love it.
He had a good catch today.
Everyone can believe in.
And the other receivers haven't really stood out. Like, I was excited about Charleston Rambo, and, they haven't really stood out. It's really just been Ngata. They're definitely thin there. The fact that we're talking outside of their top 4.
Yeah, they are
pretty improving guys.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
But I also imagine most
they're
teams don't
so great. No, you're right. But they're so great with the top 2. It really is after 4. It's like, and look, there's always dudes every year that, Deion Kane's back. You loved him last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
The Deontay Bernard's all like, I feel like, they always kind of like someone comes up and, if you need it, but it does drop off quickly. I think.
Yes. Agreed. That's all I really have on the receivers. I'm looking at my notebook. I don't really think there's any other notable catches today. Yeah, so that's all I really got on the receivers.
All right, what else stood out?
I'm trying to think. I mean, Sirianni yelling, Hurts, obviously Nolan. Nakobe didn't stand out again, but
yeah, it's fine.
This is what it is.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Stop the slander.
You'll appreciate this. Yes. So Slay talked after practice, and I asked him how he felt about the Matt Patricia signing.
Oh,
yeah. And he said the Eagles called him beforehand. He gave it their blessing. He said him and Patricia have talked and that they're on good terms. So good terms. Let me rephrase that, because that sounds a little like
no, but they're fine. Is the point?
Yeah, he said they're fine. So who knows? We'll see. But credit to Slay for at least saying the right thing and
acting like a grown adult with it, and same to Patricia, like both of them coming in and and obviously I think Slay had a real more of an axe to grind with Patricia than vice versa.
Right.
But I think the real credit, and it's like, and look, who knows? You may still be proven right. Like so far, so good with the Patricia move in terms of like not submarining anything. But like who knows?
Good job, Matt. Yeah,
season hasn't started yet. Whatever, right? Obviously, but like,
right.
But the reason I didn't have the problem with it that you had, like, look, no one wanted Matt Patricia, but like the reason I was like fine with it is because of the organization. And at least from your question, the answer, the way it's handled is like, it seems like the Eagles, before they did it, said, all right, this is a potential problem. Let's talk to Darius. Let's make sure this is okay. Let's get in front of this. Let's, and that's why I felt like it'd be okay. Cause it's a great organization. And I trust them to handle something like this and not let it become too big an issue. Again, it still could, but I like hearing that. Cause that's the way I would have hoped it was handled.
So just to be clear, I still hate it. I still think it might be a problem.
I know you do.
I know you do. But no, here's what I'm prefacing this with. Here's what I think I thought about today watching Slay. I think from knowing him, the time he's been here, we did the Players Lounge together. I feel like I have a good read on him. He is somebody that likes to have friends and likes to be liked and is like a naturally joyous guy.
I can see that even from his like online persona.
Exactly.
All that.
Everyone in the league loves him. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if to an extent, maybe he's a little happy they hired him and they were forced to maybe bury this.
That's an interesting point.
He just doesn't seem like someone that probably likes to walk around thinking there's enemies or like, what if this guy's there?
I like that thought.
So I
feel that way. I hate that. I hate when people are mad at me. Like it grinds me, man. Like I'm a people pleaser, man. I
don't have friends that I don't like get along with, but if there is one, it's never fun to think like, oh, he's going to be there tonight or whatever. So
I get it.
Yeah. I do wonder, and we'll see if things go poorly. There's still that, but I should have asked him this, but I couldn't get it in. Like, I wonder if he's kind of happy he got that off his chest.
Yeah, it's interesting. Part of that. Yeah. All right. Let's get to a little gambling advice. We're going to be going through the divisions and go through some futures. Then we'll get to our final thoughts, including our on-air slip-ups, potentially. Yeah. But AFCs today, because I felt like relevant. We may as well start in the AFC and go through the odds and just pick our favorite team, and also relevant with the Jalen Ramsey.
Yes,
injury.
Can I go first?
Yeah, and the Dalvin Cook potential, the Jets. Go ahead.
Okay. I will fully admit I could be getting fooled by this because I still think Aaron Rodgers is probably not as good as he used to be. I still don't believe in Salah.
Number one Jets hater? Elliot
Number one Jets hater.
What are you going to say here?
I think I might pick him to win the division.
Whoa!
And here's my reason.
What a turn! Yeah. So for those, if you're a new listener, this training camp, if you have not been with us for a while,
I'm a Jets hater.
Elliot, irrational. And I always say, like, I don't like love the Jets, but like I'm like, I feel more bad for them than anything. Care. Like poor Jets fans have had to watch horrendous football the vast majority of the years and haven't won a title since 1969, and they're the loser little brother to a team we all hate. Like. So I was just like, how can you green? How can you hate the Jets? You hated them. Talk to me.
Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers voluntarily taking $35 million less.
Yeah. I mean, he had to. The contract, like it was like that was going to happen no matter what. I love how they're spinning it like it's like.
Oh, no, I don't think it's
what a magnanimous move by Aaron Rodgers. He did whatever like Tom Brady did for a decade straight. Thanks, Aaron. What a sweetheart you are.
It's spin. I can acknowledge it's foolish. I'm just letting you know I am bought in because of this $35 million less.
So I'm not bought in because of that, but I am bought in because I think Aaron Rodgers is still good, and I'm bought in because I think Garrett Wilson is freaking awesome.
And then also like, look, the Patriots.
I just think they got talent.
So let's go through the odds real quick. The Patriots are plus 900.
They're not going to win the bottom.
Yeah, they're not going to win.
Yeah. No, it's between three teams. The Patriots at plus 900 are not winning the division. I think they're going to be worse than you do. I think they're going to be bad
too. I just think it's a tough spot for the Eagles.
Yes. So then the other three are relatively close. So we'll go from the top down. The Bills are the favorite at plus 120, the Jets at plus 250, and the Dolphins at plus 300. So the Bills are a somewhat substantial favorite.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you. If I'm betting this division, I'm absolutely betting on the Jets.
Yep.
Like I think if I'm there's a difference between betting on it and picking it. Like if I'm picking it, I'll probably still take the Bills just because I do think, and look, I do think the Jets could win it. and I might take the Jets, like overall just to win it, but like I might still pick the Bills. But like in terms of bets, like over double the odds. Like I think it's really close between these two teams. I think Rodgers will be revitalized in New York, and like the Bills, I think are slightly overrated. Over the last few years. So
and here's what I like about the Parks app. In all seriousness, like they have this division straight forecast where you can bet like first, second.
Yeah.
So here's two interesting bets. If you want to bet the Jets first and the Bills second, it's plus 450.
Yeah.
So that feels like if you're just going to pick the Jets.
You could also bet on a disaster Bills season.
And that's exactly what I was going to say.
Jets first, Dolphins second, 100%. Plus 950.
That is where
I kind of really dig that, because I think the Dolphins are going to be pretty good too. Like, I think if nothing crazy happens injury-wise, I think all three of those teams are double-digit win teams, the Jets, the Dolphins.
And to your point about like if the Jets, I would be surprised if the Bills play to their potential and the Jets win the division. But
I agree. That's my point. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't think it's going to be the Bills are second. I think the Bills, it'll either be they win it or it's just.
But the Bills could still not play to their potential and win 10 games and be second, or 11 games. Like Allen miss a few games, they win 11 and get in the playoffs and make something happen. I like the
Dolphins though. Their record with
I do too.
Really good last year.
It was. Yeah. They got a ton of talent. Obviously, the Ramsey injury to start this. We always talk about
I
this.
don't really care about that because I don't care.
No, I know you don't care about defense, but you can acknowledge he's one of the 5 best cornerbacks in the NFL still at this point in his career. And also, I wasn't even going there. What I was going with, and it's too early to say, it's just one injury, but like how many we are big believers in bad vibes teams in training camp and heading into the season and stuff like that, and losing like Jalen Ramsey for months and the first day of training camp or second day of training camp. Like I just don't love the start to the vibes. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. So yeah, I kind of like I said, I like the Jets plus 250, and then you could do Jets first, Bills second plus 450. But then I think our
bet is definitely that. It's Jets first, Dolphins second, plus 950. Like 1 out of 10 times, is that how it finishes? Yeah, I think so. I think more than that. So
I'm glad that we successfely found a way to have the Jets win the division and yet still not win money. So I'm happy. I'm happy we were able
to throw a few shekels on the Jets Dolphins finish, but then also maybe just a few on the Jets plus 250 too, because that is a good bet. All right. So great stuff. We're gonna get to more of the futures bets at the Bet Park Sportsbook app. You can bet on so much stuff as we dive through training camp and more Bet Parks picks pods as we go. All right. Final thoughts. Do you want to start with the on-air thing?
So I don't have a final thought. So we could just do the on-air
okay,
thing.
Good. So I'll say I did have a final thought, but I'll save it. But I will give you one quick Zoe quote that happened yesterday in it, because
always
I feel like I don't know if people like the Zoe quotes or not, but I get
we get comments about it. Bluey,
do they like him? Okay, because this one was like legit hilarious. This is an actual quote my daughter said to me out of nowhere. We're just hanging out, and she turns to me and goes, "I wish mermaids were real so I could have her in a tank in my room and tickle her." That's my daughter.
There's a whole discussion to have with Zoe.
So many layers to that. Like so many things going on.
That's what I'm saying. But it's
the tickler part was really the tickler part was like the tickler part definitely was like.
Well, it's also like imagine if you're hanging with your friends and someone turned to you and said that. It's like, man, that is something.
It's like, oh God, is John okay? Like,
exactly. Or like, what are you really gonna do with that mermaid? That's good. Well,
I think it's less when a 4.5-year-old says it. I think it's little.
It's more on the cute side. Agreed.
It's on the cute side.
All right, the on-air thing. Let me start by saying this.
Or you
this is an earmuff. From here on out, we are earmuffs.
Oh yeah,
listening with your kid.
See, mine, I can say mine without actually saying what I said, and everyone will know what it was, but either way.
Well, mine didn't get beeped out. It just, the context makes it.
Mine didn't either, because my dump button in the studio I was hosting wasn't working, and the producer didn't, I don't remember who was producing, but they didn't dump it because like no idea why. So mine actually made on the radio, and it was.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So here, I'll just do mine. Do you want to do yours first?
No, you can go. Go ahead.
Mine is very quick. We were picking a winner, and it was like accessory or famous whatever, and the winner was Flavor Flav's clock. And at the end of the show, I was going Flavor Flav's, and it came out very differently.
That made
it on the radio.
Eagles
players. When you say it quick, because it's the Flavor Flav clock. It's like the L is the second letter. So you know what? One of those L's got lost along the way. I'm sure you can all put it together.
Well, I'm sure I told
on the radio.
When James Bradbury said on the Players Lounge that they were milking the
clock.
Yeah.
I thought of it. Yep. That's worse. That's milking the
worse.
clock. Definitely worse than Flavor. I mean, look, Flavor Flav's clock, not great either to say.
Right, dude. That was the closest I've ever come to having to leave the stage. Like
I would have. I don't. Yeah, I can't imagine
because no one acknowledged it. I would have preferred.
Dude, I would be dying. I'd be dying. Yeah, it's like that. Like at least when Marcus Hayes had his premature explosion question to Doug. Like Doug laughed. And so Doug laughed and everyone else was like, okay, we can laugh. And it was hilarious. Yeah. If the people don't laugh, then it's just like, oh God. So yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, so mine was, all right, a few days ago, first day of camp, I'm talking to Hugh Douglas and Joe Gilliam on the air. And the hit's just starting. So we're talking about like what I had for breakfast because I was excited about camp or whatever. And then we talked about how Hugh Douglas would never eat before games. And I was like, saying that I really like to work out before I eat, like, cause I just feel better that way. And I forget how the context came out, but I said, I wanted to say like, and you know me, I always work out, but we were talking about eating. And I go, you know me, I always eat out. And like, it just like, and so like I caught it and I was waiting to see it, but they just kept it moving. So it was for the better, but.
Yeah. Well, so mine was definitely worse. I mean, I said Flavor Flav's was worse. Flavor Flav's clock on the radio. Yeah, yours was mine's worse.
It was one of the first times I thought, all right, this is one of the pieces of audio Jack.
It's so funny because you get so trained. We do it joking on the pod, but you get so trained, especially producing forever and all that. Like to cut that audio.
Yes, exactly.
And not just that, to hear the world in those phrases and sentences where it's like you're like almost just attuned to hear for innuendo or this or that.
Yeah, like threw me off. Like it took me 10 seconds to kind of get back into like.
Totally get it. That's hilarious. Good times.
All right. Well.
All right. There you go. So who are you with tomorrow? I'm off tomorrow. But then after tomorrow, me and Elliot.
This Saturday. Is the fifth time we've said it. Here's the deal.
It's true.
Guys.
This time it's true. It is true. It is true. I think there might only be one more time before the season.
So I did my whole season. And I'm 99% sure there's only one show I'm missing between now and
Hero.
Yes. So I'm taking red eyes from the West Coast trips on Saturday night to get there so that I can do Parks on Saturday.
God, I love you.
So we'll be there.
But you will be there on Saturday with Rube?
So I will say, of all the weekends, if you're not going to be there, and as much as I wish it was you, I'm having Ruben Frank, who's been to every practice.
So you guys can really,
we'll do practices.
Well, it'll give. I actually think it'll be really cool for the listener to have two people then call up and ask questions and all that. Yeah, that's great.
So it'll be good.
Awesome. That'll be fun. Everyone check it out. And then it's training camp. We'll be here next week. Pod's coming. I'm back. I'm on vacation. We're in.
Two exciting things. We're going to announce our trip of where we're going this year.
Yes, we are. Oh, is it next week? Is it locked in that we can do that next week?
Yeah, next week. Yeah. And then we'll have a new video situation next week. So it'll be fun.
Yes, we will. And I haven't seen it yet, but Elliot,
it's unbelievable. I feel like I'm in a movie or I'm on like, cool. ESPN or something. It's
pretty
insane.
Cool. And by the way, training camp, like what could be better?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Elliot will be there Saturday. Check that out. We'll be back next week. Until then, he's Elliot and James.
Boom. And broadcast.